Chapter 31. New Additions. A large group of Pegasi flew through the air above a vast, largely barren, rocky landscape. The town of Appaloosa sat distantly behind them, the Pegasi having been brought to such a remote location for some training exercises. Most of the Pegasi were speeding around the landscape with determined expressions, though a few others were beginning to sweat and lag behind the rest. All the while, their airborne instructors looked down from above, watching the trainees carefully as they flew the circuit.
"Move it, cadets, move it!"
Little Wing shouted from high above the Wonderbolt hopefuls below her, dressed fully in her reserve uniform alongside one other reservist and Scootaloo.
"If you want to make it into the bolts, you'll need to go faster than that! Go!"
A snort from behind Little Wing caught her attention, and she spun around to give Scootaloo a deadpan glare.
"What's so funny?" "You,"
Scootaloo replied.
"First time you've been assigned to help train new cadets, and you're trying to pull a Spitfire. It actually works,"
Little Wing rebuffed.
"Don't tell me you've never ruffled their feathers a bit." It's more Dash's thing,"
Scootaloo replied with a titter.
"Besides, I might just have to tell the recruits how a certain Pegasus I know absolutely flipped out while waiting for her own results."
Little Wing's face turned from its usual cyan to a bright red.
"Don't you dare! Don't tempt me, Scootaloo!"
Scootaloo just gave her a smug look.
"Hey, since you're the younger sibling here, I get to tease all I want, remember?"
Little Wing huffed.
"All right, Malcolm in the middle. Doesn't mean I can't get you back. You're the one who's a tomato right now."
Little Wing's cheeks puffed up.
"Once a chicken, always a chicken."
Scootaloo rolled her eyes.
"Jump a couple decades into the past and then try that one, Wing." Well, think of something." "I'll be waiting."
The other reservist just looked at the two of them in bemusement. "This is why I'm an only child." Scootaloo shot him a smirk.
"Well, technically so am I, but what can I say? Life finds a way." "Oh, lucky me,"
Little Wing moaned in dramatic fashion, before stifling a giggle.
But while I think of my oh-so-sweet revenge, we really should make sure these cadets don't faceplant into a boulder or something." "Probably,"
Scootaloo agreed, looking off to where the cadets were rounding for another lap.
"Got a few good candidates among them. Better see 'em through." "Speak later?"
Scootaloo smirked.
"You bet."
Little Wing nodded, giving her wings a flap before heading off towards the other Pegasi. She did miss the sudden perplexed look on Scootaloo's face, however, as the orange Pegasus seemed to realize something that had slipped her mind before.
"Oh, hey, Little Wing."
Little Wing stopped in her tracks, turning to face the now distant Scootaloo.
"Yeah? Who's Malcolm?"
The cadets began to pile in one by one, touching down onto the dirt in the middle of the remote town as its denizens, mostly earth ponies clad in various hats, watched on with mixed expressions. Some of the cadets fell in line with an air of pride about them, chests puffed up and wings fluttering. Others plodded their way up to the others while gasping for breath and receiving desperately needed bottles of water from their instructors. Scootaloo was taking individual notes for each of the Pegasi, writing observations next to their names, detailing their performance, how they were left after their exercise, and even their attitudes. As Scootaloo inspected the line of Wonderbolt recruits, Little Wing and the other reservists hung back as she made her assessments, talking amongst themselves about some of their own observations. When Scootaloo was done, she joined the other two, discussed her own notes with them, before turning towards the cadets with the two reservists flanking either side.
"All right, ponies, that's it for today,"
Scootaloo announced.
"You'll all receive individual assessments within a week from now. You have 2 hours to rest up, and then it's back to the base for all of you."
"Yes, ma'am."
"All right, fall out."
The Pegasi broke formation with intense relief, most immediately heading towards the nearest bar while others would find a nearby dark corner or rooftop and take a nap. While outcomes had been mixed, It was undeniable that each had given their all and deserved the break before their return to the Wonderbolt Academy. Scootaloo and the others waited for them all to depart before sharing a few final words. The stallion with them gave his momentary farewells before going to join some of the cadets at the bar, while Scootaloo and Little Wing elected to instead attend a small little cafe that was devoid of any other Wonderbolt-affiliated Pegasi. They would have liked to attend that bar, but they needed a quieter and more private setting for some of the things they needed to discuss. As they walked in, there was a small pink earth pony mare behind the counter with a yellow mane and a half-eaten apple as her cutie mark. Blatantly some relative of Applejack, Scootaloo had to note, though that was not at all surprising, since they were all over Appaloosa. But relations aside, she shot the two Pegasi a friendly smile as they trotted on in.
Hi, my name is Apple Rose,
The mare greeted cheerfully.
Y'all are Wonderbolts, right? We're not very busy right now, so what can I do you for?
Indeed, the cafe seemed to be mostly empty. Only one Appaloosan sitting in the corner with coffee between his hooves. But if the current lack of business put a damper on Apple Rose's spirits, she did little to show it. She hopped on over the counter and directed the two, technically sisters, over to a small table for two, sitting by the window. She shifted them over to the table in the blink of an eye, having them sit down and providing them with a menu. They looked up at Apple Rose, who had a notepad in her hooves and a pencil held in her mouth, before giving the menu a parsing glance.
Just a lemonade, thanks,
Scootaloo said.
Same for me,
Little Wing added.
Oh, and a small plate of muffins to share.
Apple Rose finished writing the order down on her pad, before flipping the pencil in the air and having it land perfectly behind her ear.
You got it. I'll have a back lickety-split. Enjoy!
The mare then pranced off back behind the counter, and then through another door and out of sight. With Apple Rose off to prepare their order, Scootaloo and Little Wing were given a moment to breathe.
So, good group, huh?
Little Wing broke the silence.
Now, some of the stragglers probably aren't going to make it all the way. This isn't the first time those ponies have faltered during their training. I know. So does Spitfire,
Scootaloo said regretfully.
I'm going to recommend she bring them to her office and discuss their futures in the Wonderbolts. Maybe they can turn it around with a good kick up the rump?
Little Wing suggested.
For their sakes? I hope so.
Scootaloo replied before she gave a chuckle.
Seems like it was only 2 minutes ago since you were one of those cadets. Hey, seems like it was only 2 minutes ago since I was. The last 2 years really have flown by.
Little Wing mused.
Pun completely intended.
Scootaloo snorted.
Funny. But really, sorry I couldn't make it to your 21st. Things were just so busy. You know I get it, Scoots.
Little Wing assured the other Pegasus.
I got your gift and your card. It's fine.
Scootaloo gave a small smile.
Thanks, Wing. Heard it was a good party. And now I really need to go all out on Misty's next birthday.
Little Wing replied with a smirk.
I'm thinking of a cruise to Zebrica, after the party, of course. Celestia knows I can't remember the last time we went on a holiday. You've never gone on one with just the two of you. Exactly,
Little Wing stated.
That's why I know she'll like it. Rainbow knows a few good places from when she went with Soaring. I was thinking something that doesn't involve death jumps and the likes.
Little Wing deadpanned.
Something quieter. Fair enough.
Apple Rose returned from the kitchens with a tray of lemonade and muffins balanced expertly on her back. She carefully trotted up to the table Scootaloo and Little Wing were sat at, sliding the tray onto the table without spilling a drop of lemonade. Content that all was well, she shot them both a happy smile.
Lemonade and muffins, just as y'all ordered,
she announced with a prance.
I hope you like 'em. Thank you, Apple Rose,
Scootaloo thanked.
We'll ask for the bill when we're done.
Apple Rose gave them a nod before trotting back behind the counter to await new customers. The two Pegasi each took their respective drinks. Little Wing took a sip from her lemonade before inspecting and nibbling on one of the chocolate chip muffins. Her eyes lit up from the taste, and she began to take larger, more eager bites.
Good?
Scootaloo asked, picking up a muffin of her own.
Very.
Little Wing replied, before appearing more solemn and placing her muffin down.
Now, Scootaloo, I need to ask you about something. Rainbow Dash,
Scootaloo stated knowingly.
Yeah.
Little Wing replied.
How is she? I haven't really seen her since she broke the news about the foal.
Scootaloo smiled.
She's doing good. You should arrange a visit to Ponyville. She'd love for you to visit. I think I will.
Little Wing confirmed.
I bet her friends are gushing up the walls about it. You bet.
Scootaloo replied with a smirk.
Don't get me started on Rarity.
Little Wing laughed.
I bet she's driving Rainbow up the wall with designs of baby clothes. Very.
Scootaloo chuckled.
They're all excited to meet the latest edition. I think we've all decided not to let her name the foal. Let me guess. Little Ass Kicker, the Awesome Foal, Daring Do. I think she suggested those all. I can feel Soaring's migraine from here. Yeah, they'll think of something not stupid. Eventually.
Little Wing remarked before resisting the urge to squee.
I'm just so excited to be an ant.
Scootaloo resisted one of her own.
I know, right? Seriously, I bet the kid's gonna be a Wonderbolt Messiah. Talk like that and she'll end up being Princess Twilight's next magic student.
Little Wing replied jokingly.
Wouldn't that be a twist? I can imagine it.
Scootaloo replied with a grin.
Well, we'll find out in a few months. Can't wait. And hopefully by then, whatever the haze going on with the Griffins will have died down too.
Little Wing noted.
What's with that group that's been popping up in the news, the Sovereign Empire?
Scootaloo rolled her eyes.
Just some group who want the Griffins to go back to the ancient ways of war and conquest. A bunch of morons making noise and spraying graffiti on the walls. The Emperor's already condemned them. They'll sink back into their holes probably in another month or so. Probably,
Little Wing agreed.
What do they even think is so great about killing other people?
Scootaloo shrugged.
Beats me. Some ponies, people are just twigged like that, I guess. But none of them could have lasted an actual fight. The Griffins will deal with it. But, back to relationships and foals.
Little Wing said.
What about you? Any mare or stallion on the horizon? If there were, I'm sure you'd have heard about it already.
Scootaloo replied in a deadpan.
Not for me. I should really be asking you about Misty. You know, foals and marriage and the likes. We're both mares.
Scootaloo raised an eyebrow.
So? There are always ways, magical and otherwise. So, are you?
Little Wing sighed.
Foals? No idea. Not anytime soon.
Scootaloo smirked.
Marriage, then?
Little Wing squirmed in her seat, nibbling on the muffin nervously.
I don't know. I mean, I've thought about it, and we've talked about it, if only while teasing. So...
She sighed.
I guess... maybe after Dash's foal is born? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to, someday.
Scootaloo gave Little Wing a sympathetic smile.
Well, no rush, right? Whenever you're both comfortable, I'm sure you will. Just make sure to tell your parents first, otherwise you'll never hear the end of it. I'm aware.
Little Wing deadpanned, gulping down the last of her lemonade. The two made small talk for a while longer, getting a refill for Little Wing's glass and finishing off their plate of muffins. Eventually, they called Apple Rose back over for the bill, delighting the cheerful Earth pony with their compliments as to her baking. They gave her the bits they owed before bidding her farewell. The 2 hours were soon over, and the cadets were gathered back in the main street. A head count confirmed that none of them had napped for too long, and soon they were all on their return journey to the Wonderbolt Academy.